really believe that it is possible for your kids to eat the birthday cake and the pizza and like live a normal childhood life and also have great blood sugars. You don't have to sacrifice one for the other, but we're also realistic. Like bad days happen. Diabetes is really hard.
You become like a role model for these kids. Like I know our kids are mesmerized by Bella, who babysits for them,
You almost felt like your relationship with the kids was becoming about diabetes, right? And like once you were able to take a step back, you're able to focus on that real relationship. That is exactly what most grandparents go through as well. And it was also in that moment that I started to realize people didn't all manage diabetes the same.
Fam, I'm Rebecca.
And I'm Nick.
And welcome back to another episode of The Urgent Lows, where we talk about lifestyle and type 1 diabetes.
Here we believe in embracing self-care through life's challenges. Welcome back to the show. We are so excited. We have an amazing guest. Her name is Raquel, and she is with Type 1 Together, an amazing website that we cannot wait to dive into. There's a lot of great things on there. I know there's one thing that I had no idea about that when I did find out, I literally made a video over it because I was like, why did I not know about this babysitter list? Because I needed this like years and years ago. So we'll talk about that. But first, let's jump in about your personal life. Please tell us when you were diagnosed and give us a little breakdown of like your diagnosis story and how this all got started.
Yeah, well, thank you so much for having me. I'm so excited to be here. All right, so let's go all the way back. I was diagnosed when I was 5 years old. It was right around my 5th birthday. I actually almost missed my own 5-year-old birthday party, but my mom begged my doctor, because I was already in the hospital for a few days. She was like, please, Raquel really needs this right now. Like, can we please go? And so I went straight from the hospital and was late to my own birthday party, but I did make it. I do remember still getting my first injection there, which was terrifying because I was the kid that would run away from the doctor if I had to get any shots. I still to this day do not like getting any shots. If it's not a diabetes thing I'm used to, I'm like, no, thank you.
Yeah.
But yeah, so it was just so different back then, the way that diabetes was managed. I was on shots for many years. Kids weren't allowed to get pumps until I was much older. And everything was very strict in terms of you had to eat a certain amount of carbs at a certain time of day, and it was just very regimented. And eventually I did get on a pump when I was about 8, and that really gave me a lot of freedom. But there were no CGMs, there was no auto mode or control IQ that we have now. Everything was just manual. So it was tough. I was a dancer for a lot of my life. I ended up going to performing arts high school, and then I was a dance major in college. And so that was kind of my whole life, which was really tricky with diabetes. But I think it also taught me a lot about my diagnosis and just a lot about my body awareness as a whole. So I am thankful for that. But yeah, so I really didn't want anything to do with the type 1 community for many years. I kind of thought it was weird. I didn't need type 1 friends. Like, why? And looking back, I wish I would have embraced the community sooner. But I did go to like a week summer camp every year and, kind of did the bare minimum that my mom asked me to do. And I'm thankful for that. But when I got to college, that's really where my type 1 community journey began. So I went to the University of Texas at Austin, and I kind of reluctantly went to a meeting for the College Diabetes Network at that school, which is now known as the Diabetes Link. They rebranded recently. And I just went for the free food. I was like, let's just go and see. I don't really need, type 1 friends, but we'll see where it goes. And on that day, at that first meeting, I met my now best friend, Ashley, who lives with type 1. And when we connected, and just with everyone that was there that day, I just quickly realized like, oh, it's actually so nice to have people around me who actually understand. I know that's similar to both of your story, whether you're a parent or you're someone living with it, you need that community. And it was also in that moment that I started to realize people didn't all manage diabetes the same. Like I had gone to the same doctor for so many years and had been just told one way to do things. And that's just not the reality with type 1. There's so many ways to get to the same solution. And there's so many options out there with technology and just management in general. And so I started learning a lot from my friends and I started diving into the community online. That was kind of the beginning of Instagram and, people were starting to talk about it there. I think I even found some diabetes podcasts and it just really opened my mind to what was possible. So, do you want me to dive into like fully how I started Type 1 together? Should I keep it going?
Yeah,
Yeah.
we love
Okay.
it.
Yeah, we
So,
want to know everything.
But side note, your story is so much like Elizabeth from Touch by Type 1 of like dancing and all that.
yes, so I love Elizabeth too. I need to connect with her more, but we did interview her on our podcast and she's absolutely amazing. And I've always wanted to get more involved with the dance side of things that they do.
So
Yes.
you have to come out. Have you been out to see the Dancing for Diabetes thing
No,
here?
but I
I
need
know.
You
to.
have to come out. It is absolutely phenomenal.
Yeah.
Like we went for the first time this last year and was like didn't really know what to expect
Hmm.
and was blown away at the production level. Like this is not
Yeah.
some like little
It was
thing
Yeah.
like a legit
like
like
Broadway type
performance. Yeah.
performance, like top of the
Wow.
line. Like it is no joke.
Yeah.
So was so blown away with the quality, the dancers, everything.
Yeah, I know
That's
it's a
so cool.
lot because Friends for Life is here and you're coming for that too.
Mhm.
So we
I
live
know.
here, we live close by if you want to stay with us.
Thank you. Thank you. I know I would love honestly to perform at that show one day or to teach. I've taught dance for many years myself,
Yes.
and so that would be such a dream, which I've talked to them about, but it's just never worked out. But yeah, so I started interning during college at the JDRF, now Breakthrough T1D
Hmm.
chapter in Austin, Texas, and I was just getting really involved and they kind of told me, "Hey Raquel, there's some families who really need babysitters. You're a college student, could be a good way to make some extra cash." And I was like, "Yeah, that would be great." So I got connected, and then over time, I slowly just became the Austin Type 1 babysitter to the point where I would be getting these random messages from parents I've never met, and they're like, "Hey, so and so gave me your number. We heard you babysit in Austin. Can you please help me? Like, we haven't had a date night for 5 years, whatever it is." And so I started babysitting for lots of families, and eventually I just couldn't keep up with the demand that I had. And so I started connecting all of my college diabetes network friends to these families, and I kind of just became the connector in Austin for that. And by the time I was a senior in college and was kind of thinking about what I wanted to do, I just knew this was such a resource that needed to exist. There was nothing like it. And uh, it was just so meaningful on so many levels. Not only did the parents finally get a date night, which, as you all have shared with me, like it's so important for your own relationship to have that
Mhm.
time. Like it can't just all be about diabetes, but also the impact that it sounds weird to say this, but that I know I've made and any type 1 babysitter has made on a child's life with
Yeah.
diabetes is everything. I mean, I had a type 1 babysitter growing up, and she gave me so much confidence in learning how to prick my finger by myself and change my sight. And there's so many stories where I went over to someone's house and their child was too scared to put their pump on their arm or their stomach or whatever. And then they saw me do it and then they were able to do it. So there's just so much to that part of it as well that just like being a mentor in that way is so important. So yeah, I decided to start Type 1 together at that time. And I didn't really know if this could ever be a full time thing or like a true business, but I knew I was going to try. And I started it just as a babysitter connection service in the beginning. And we do things pretty differently now. It's been a little over 6 years and things have evolved. And right after I started, the pandemic hit. So that was hard because no one needed babysitters. But we've grown into this community that now provides resources in so many ways. So, we do have our babysitter list, and then my cousin hand crochets our Dia Buddies, which are the little stuffed animals that you can get
Yeah.
devices to match your own. And that kind of came out of the pandemic just because we didn't need babysitters. We're like, what should we do?
Hmm.
And we also now just try to fill the gaps for parents in a lot of different ways. We really believe that it is possible for your kids to eat the birthday cake and the pizza and like live a normal childhood life and
Hmm.
also have great blood sugars. You don't have to sacrifice one for the other, but we're also realistic. Like bad days happen. Diabetes is really hard. I'm almost 24 years into diabetes life and I'm still learning things all the time. You never
Yeah.
really figure it out fully, but there is a way to kind of have it all, I really believe. And so we do that through our masterclasses, our courses. We do a grandparents course for grandparents to learn all about diabetes. And our products are babysitter list, just all the things. And the main thing is just our Instagram content. We try to keep it really real and relatable. And Amanda, who is director of parent support for Type 1 Together, she couldn't be here today because she just had her baby, but her daughter is 5 and lives with Type 1. And so together we share the combined experience of me growing up with it and what that's been like, and then her being a Type 1 parent in real time. So yeah, it's just
So
become my
how
life.
did you meet Amanda or get connected with her?
Yeah, so she actually DM'd me on Instagram. I did have a different business partner years ago, and then she decided to go her own way and do something completely outside of diabetes. But she lived with diabetes herself as well. And once she had left, I kind of knew I was like, I need a Type 1 parent, right? Like, I can talk all day about what it was like for me, but that's never going to be the same as a Type 1 parent and their experience. And so, I would meet with parents all the time. Why not? Like, just get connected. I love this community. And
Mm-hmm.
so Amanda had DM'd me and she was like, hey, I just broke my like 15-year social media hiatus. Like, I didn't want to be online, but she was actually at her daughter's endo. And I think just having a meltdown, and the endo was like, have you been on Instagram? Like, you need to connect with other Type 1 families. And so she found the You're Just My Type page, and she found Type 1 Together, and she really loved what I was doing, but wanted, you know, she felt like there needed to be a parent voice. And at first she just wanted to like mentor other parents and kind of be more behind the scenes, but eventually it evolved into her just sharing her whole story. She's opened up about her mental health journey with being a Type 1 parent. She had a panic attack on the highway, all the things. You can find all that on our page. But I think it really spoke to parents because when she first got online, she was just seeing all the accounts of perfect blood sugars, right? Like the low carb accounts, and
Yeah.
you can't go over 110 and all these things. And she just felt so exhausted by it. Like, it was so impossible. And she didn't see anyone really sharing, like, I guess just what is possible with diabetes.
Reality, yeah.
The reality of, yeah.
Yeah,
You all
and
share now too.
yeah, I feel that hard because me coming in as a stepmom, like again, I there's so much that Nick could have told me about type 1 diabetes, but then when you live with it, it's like automatically I was like, okay, it has to be perfect. So like the numbers have to be 100 at all times, like all this stuff. And then it's true when you get on social media and even in these forums, because I was like joining like different like Facebook group pages and stuff like that, and I still feel like the perfection still creeps its way in because it's like you want to like persuade yourself as like, oh, like I don't have those issues, and it's like there is no way that you are not having these issues and you're not like crying at night at 3 a.m. because they had a compression low because they were laying on their equipment. Like there's just no way. Like you've had it. I swear every time there's a compression low for us, I always say it's the only time I hear Nick say a bad word. Like literally, it's
Like,
like
he
the
didn't need
only
to be
time
woken up.
he curses, and I'm like, wow,
Mhm.
yeah,
But like you need that relatability at the end of the day,
yeah,
right? And you guys, I will say, you have one of the best type 1 diabetes Instagram accounts out there
mm-hmm.
because the type of content you're putting, the wide variety of content that you're putting out there, but you're able to touch on every single side of it, right?
Yeah.
From the caregiver side to the actual T1D warrior side, you can cover all of it. But like you said, it is relatable. And that's one of the things that we have really noticed and honestly fallen in love with your guys' channel is because of that. And you guys do some of the best content out there. And
Yeah.
it's amazing.
Yeah,
But-
and I love too that you guys have it's not only because usually it's a lot of the women that are involved in this situation, but like recently I feel like you guys have been like having a push of like the dads sharing their stories and
Yeah.
stuff. And I love that because in our situation, they're both Nick's kids. So he's always the one that like, I think of him as the leader of it, of type 1 and all that. And it's like, like I feel like it's actually giving these men like a place to like talk and like it's a whole different journey and things that you go through in parenting when you have type 1 diabetes. So I love that you guys are including that too.
And anytime we can be encouraging the dads to like step up, be a part of it, right? Like, listen, there's always stereotypes out there. Some are true, some are not. But like, yes, there's a stereotype that dads in general don't do much, and it's all the moms and everything.
Mm-hmm.
Well, when you got kids with type 1 diabetes, you need to get your butt off the couch even more and help with it. And I know for me, it's like I want to show the world, hey, this is what a T1D dad should be like, right?
Mm-hmm.
We're not perfect, yes, a compression load is going to hit. I'm going to say a bad word because I'm mad at the time.
Yeah.
But like, that's the reality. But you get up and you go deal with it. And you
Mm-hmm.
got to be a team and support each other because it's about your kids at the end of the day.
Yeah. And then
Yeah.
too, like the whole grandparents that you focus on, like having that conversation with them, that's a whole other thing that I feel like people don't talk about. And like I really felt it with my parents because, I'm coming in as a stepmom and then like my parents are very involved in my life and obviously they're now very involved in Nick's life and his kids' life and everything. So it's like how can we help? Like, how can we be? Because I feel like that was always a question of like, you can rely on me. Like, you guys can go on a date and like leave the kids with us. And I'm like, thank you. But like, I don't like, there at the beginning, of course, it was like hard to really be like, it's not that we don't trust my parents, but it's like, it's just so, it's scary. Like, I remember the first time we left the kids with my sister, and I think we went to dinner, like, not too far away from the house and she has two kids of her own and they're all around the same age, so it's perfect playtime. But when there's a lot of running around, you're gonna tank and you're gonna go low. And I remember her calling me and she was like, I thought something bad had happened. Like it sounded like she was crying and she's like, all the alarms are going off all at the same time. I don't know what to do. It's beeping. It's like they have their phones out. Like, what do I do? And it's like, it's scary. Like there's really no other way to like describe it. Like even as scary as it is for a new parent to give their child injections, like it's also really scary to hear those noises coming from the phone and the equipment and everything. It's like, we just recently did a video and it was like our night, like what a typical night can look for us, like, especially with having two kids with it. But it's like we had the Dexcom sound on it and we've gotten so many like comments of like, oh my God, that sound gives me PTSD. And it's so true. Like you hear it. Like one day we were in the office, the kids weren't around, and the printer in our office started making a noise and it slightly sounded like the Dexcom alert. And I'm like,
Oh,
what
wow.
happened? Where is that coming from? But you like catch yourself being like, you get triggered by these noises.
Yes. Yeah. For those who are listening, we just recorded a podcast episode on
Yes.
Typing Others podcast.
Yes.
And Rebecca, you said something about how you almost felt like your relationship with the kids was becoming about diabetes, right? And like once you were able to take a step back, you're able to focus on that real relationship. That is exactly what most grandparents go through as well. Like they just want to help, they want to be there, but they're just scared. And the fear completely takes over any other relationship that they could have with their grandkids. And they are always asking like, I want to make cookies with them or, just like do normal grandma and grandpa activities. And they're just so terrified. And so that's really, our goal. And probably my favorite thing that we do is work with the grandparents because they're a really special, sweet group of humans.
Yeah, I love that. And the community you guys have grown. I want to talk a little bit about having type 1 diabetes and like you said like during college time is when you really started like connecting yourself with other people with type 1, but like talk to me about like dating with having type 1 diabetes. Like we've heard different people, we ask this question a lot, but it's like, did you feel open to sharing your numbers to somebody you were dating or did it take a while? Like how did you get connected like that?
Yeah. Okay. So I've had like 2 long-term relationships, one being my current amazing boyfriend, and they've been very different. And so my ex that I dated for 7 years, that was a long time, and I met him in high school, and so that was before I had a CGM. So things were really different. But we were together while I was in college, and I eventually got a CGM, and I think he did follow me at a point, but he was not the most supportive person, I will say, with a lot of things, but especially diabetes. And he would get upset if we were on a hike and I was dropping, and he'd be like, well, I don't want to hike with you if like you're going to go low, like really not great things.
Yeah.
He was supportive in other ways. He'd go to events and stuff, but just overall not a great situation, which I always say diabetes is a great filter to figure out if you're dating the right person.
Yes.
So yeah,
So
we
true.
love that. But, I dated in between the 2 long-term relationships, but nothing to the point where I would share my numbers. But I will say diabetes would come up immediately. And that's just because it's my business and it's my life. And so, they're like, well, what do you do? I have a business. What's the business? Type 1 together. So it was a pretty immediate thing. But I actually think it was great to just put it all out there. And I'd probably do that if I were to ever be dating again, even though probably won't be. But with my boyfriend, the funny part is he's actually the one person that I didn't tell for a little bit. And we did meet on a dating app. It's like kind of a crazy story where I was living in this entrepreneur house in Arizona. We were really close to Utah. I was in Zion National Park. He was in Zion National Park at the same time. He lived in LA. I had just left my ex in Texas, like crazy thing. But we met, we didn't actually meet in person for multiple months. We met on a FaceTime call first. And so, diabetes didn't really come up. He actually didn't ask me what I was doing for work because he had just quit his job because of a horrible situation at his work and he didn't want to talk about his work situation.
So funny.
And so it didn't come up. And eventually I ended up going to LA. I was going to just be there for a summer, but we met in person. I didn't really know what I was doing with my life because of just leaving that relationship and I was working for myself. So trying to figure all that out. And I think it was on the second FaceTime call we had before we met in person that I did bring up diabetes. I was like, I need him to know before we go on our first date.
Yeah.
And so I told him, I ended up telling him about my account. I think he asked for my Instagram and I don't post on my like old high school account anymore. And so I was like, well, I have this diabetes account, but that's pretty weird. But he followed it before we had even met, which was terrifying. And he was nothing but supportive. Like he had, I think, a classmate in middle school who had diabetes. He kind of knew a little bit about it, but not that much, but enough to where he wasn't scared off by it.
Yeah.
And when we did meet in person, we had our first date. I did go low on our first date, so it was good that I had already told him. And he's the most supportive, amazing person when it comes to type 1. He follows me. He's not too much with it because I know that can be a thing too, where they're constantly checking in and texting you about it. But if I have an urgent low, yeah, he's like, hey, you're low. And I'm like, yeah, I know, I can feel it. But I appreciate it because I was with someone who is completely the opposite.
Mm-hmm.
And now, like, if I am going to bed and I'm low and I'm falling asleep and he's still up, I'll kind of say, like, hey, can you just check my number? And he'll do that for me and I can go to sleep. Or, if he needs to get me juice or whatever, he's there for it. So it's been a really beautiful part of our relationship. And I think he sees now that it's a big part of who I am. I know that's kind of a controversial thing in the community, but I believe it is a big part of who I am and
Yeah.
in a good way. Like it just is. It takes up so much of our life. And I don't think I would have a lot of the same strengths, I guess, that I have if it wasn't for diabetes. So I am thankful for type 1 in that way. Of course, it's hard and it sucks, but
Yeah.
it's brought some good things to my life. So yeah, it's good now.
We say a lot, like we turn our challenges into like positive things because at the end of the day, you have to. Because if you don't, especially with type 1 diabetes, like what are you going to do? Just cry every single day? Because that easily I can do that because there's so much that goes on with it. But it's like, no, you're not defined by having type 1, but it's a part of you and it's a part of your story. And personally, not having type 1 and knowing and meeting so many warriors, I'm like, this makes you like this out of this world amazing person because like, you're dealing with everyday life and you're still, being a part, like a body part for yourself. So I just think it's amazing. And even we've been told like from my family that, it's hard for Parker and Evie now because yes, like they could technically be high and then everybody wants ice cream, but it's like, okay, well, you guys are so high right now. We're going to have to like separate the two. But it's like our kids, and this is true, our kids are learning how to manage their body when it comes to food, which is a huge thing for when they grow up. Because even if they didn't have type 1 diabetes, they know how to feel their body. They know how to feel their body. They know like what makes them crash, what makes them skyrocket. So it's like these lessons that I feel like are being taught at an early age. And of course, for kids, especially our ages, it's like, oh, like it's just annoying because I want to have the same thing. I want a milkshake now. And it's like what they actually don't realize is how much it's going to help them in their future.
Yeah, I totally agree.
Yeah, because it's so many kids, they don't have to think about this stuff.
Yeah.
They just go off, they can eat whatever they want, they can run around, there's no responsibilities, they can all these sleepovers, and yeah, you want your kid to be able to have all those things. But there comes a point where you're like, okay, like you can only eat so much candy because eventually as an adult, you're just going to eat candy 24/7. Like it's not going to be good for you. Right. Like, and being able to say like set rules and boundaries in place, say, hey, it's not bad to have these things, but everything's in moderation at the end of the day, right? Like,
Yeah.
we all love ice cream. We love ice cream. Like, don't get me wrong, it's one of our favorite things in the world.
Yeah.
But one of the rules that we have, and yes, we break this rule sometimes, is like, we're not going to have ice cream at night.
Yeah.
Or like after dinner, for
After
example, because we know it's one of the hardest things to
Yeah.
bolus for,
We
right?
won't
And
get
it's so
sleep that
delayed.
night.
And so we
Literally.
know if we have it after dinner, we're not sleeping.
Yeah.
So if we want to have ice cream, we're going to do it after lunch
Mhm.
because that gives you plenty of time to actively manage that bolus and keep on top of it, right? That doesn't mean we can't have ice cream, but there's like
Yeah.
rules and boundaries in place that we try to set to enjoy our life for everybody all around us, right? And so the kids are learning that at such a young age
Mhm.
that they can even do it. And even we see with our nephews, like them making better decisions because like, oh, because Parker and Eve are with us, maybe I shouldn't be doing XYZ all the time and all, you know?
Mhm.
I don't know. It's fascinating to see just how the kids grow up and what they're going to go through all of it, I guess. I don't know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then I also think another thing that's so amazing with the babysitter list that you guys are doing is that we've had kind of both scenarios. So we've had babysitters before, which we are a blended family. So when we have the kids, we really don't do anything without our kids. But in the event that there is an event that we have to go to and we leave them with a babysitter, we've left them with a babysitter before that doesn't have type 1. And then thankfully through Touch by Type 1 here in Orlando, we've been connected to a lot of girls, especially that have type 1 and they've babysat for us. And it is literally a game changer. So just this weekend, we threw my mom a surprise retirement party.
Aw.
And I booked this way in advance for one of our main girls that babysits for us. And she came over and I swear, like, even seeing like Nick enjoying himself and like just I felt like he felt like free because it's like, you know, yes, my kids are not they have a babysitter, but like he knows they're handled and they have it under control. And that's just like a game, like something that you can't really explain unless you go through it. Because I feel like a lot of times, especially with like me being the stepmom, like I'm still in that mode that I need to like I feel like I need to explain things to people, and Nick is like, I've been dealing with type 1 for so long, like I'm not explaining anything to anybody. But I almost get the feeling of like people think we're boring because when we have the kids we don't like really want to like plan a night out, you know, without the kids or something like that, or getting a babysitter is not just so easy for us. Whereas, like, I feel like I need to explain, like, hey, when we don't have a babysitter that doesn't have type 1, like, it's a little bit more difficult. Like, we can't really enjoy ourselves that much. Like, we're always looking at the phones and stuff. But then when you just have a babysitter that has type 1, it's, like, such a game changer. And what you were saying of, like, you become, like, a role model for these kids.
Yes.
Like, I know our kids are mesmerized by Bella, who babysits for them. Like Evie thinks she, like, you know, it's another girl, an older girl that has it. But even Parker and Bella, actually for the event that we just had, brought her boyfriend over to babysit, and he doesn't have type 1. And I felt like Parker really bonded with her boyfriend. And the boyfriend, they've been dating for a long time. They just graduated high school, but like you can tell the boyfriend's very supportive and like on this diabetes journey with Bella. And I feel like it was super cool for Parker to see that, like see like, you know, older kids in a relationship and like having someone that's supportive with their diabetes for them.
Yeah, it's so true. And yeah, that peace of mind you get. I remember parents used to tell me, especially the newly diagnosed ones, they'd be like, I think you understand diabetes better than me. So like, I'm not even gonna tell you what to do. And I can only imagine how nice that is to just have that weight lifted off your shoulders, even just for a few hours.
Yeah. And it's definitely like been baby steps for us because our kids have never gone to like away for camp, like type 1 camps. We've attempted it. The timing just have never worked for us. But I do, and the more we get connected, the more people we meet, they're like, camp is a game changer. Like they have to try camp. And it's funny because Parker, especially, I mean, he's entering his teenage years, but he's like, I don't want to go. Like, I don't want to go. Like, kind of similar to your story that we shared on your podcast of like, I don't need type 1 friends. Like, I have all these friends already. And it's like, the relationships and the bonds that I feel like are grown over these camps. I'm like, oh my God, like our kids have to experience it. So we have plans. We really want to make it happen. It's not going to happen this summer, but hopefully next summer it'll happen.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think it's good to a degree to push your kids into that. I mean, you have to respect what they want at the
Yeah.
same time, but there is a part of me that wishes my mom kind of pushed me to do some of the sleepaway camps. And, even when it came to me getting an insulin pump, I didn't want to get one, right? I didn't want to make that switch. But then she was like, okay, you can try it. If you hate it, you can switch back, right? And I never looked back because it was a way better situation. I feel the same way about camp. Like, you kind of have to push your kids to some extent.
Yeah. And what we keep talking about is like it's the community aspect of things. And the younger, because you look at Bella the babysitter, and yes, she has a lot of probably non-diabetic friends, but so much of her life and her friends and her best friends and who she all was with all the time is other people she's met through the type 1 diabetes community. And it's funny because they all like share each other's numbers.
Aw.
Well, because they all met for the Dancing for
Diabetes,
Diabetes when they were little, like little girls. So they grew up dancing for that together. And then, they're still like such close friends. But yeah, she was telling us one time, because we did have her on our podcast too, that her and her sister actually both have type 1. So very similar to our story. But she's like, yeah, they all like I think it's like 6 diabetic girls all share, like follow each other. And I'm like, I surely hope you guys have the notifications on silent, because can you imagine all these alarms like going off and they're like, oh yeah, we can we have our own on silent. So, but it's just funny to see that like relationship that they build. And I know when the Bella and her sister were on, they did mention something, because she has a sister who's older and she graduated college. And she had to have this like talk with her parents of like, okay, I'm going off to college. You guys can still follow me, but she set boundaries with her parents on like, if I'm urgent low, like, yes, text me. But if I've been high for 2 hours and you don't like that I've been high for 2 hours, like, don't be texting me. Like, I know I'm high. Like, I'm going to be trying to like get myself down. But it was interesting that she said that. And I wonder if you had something similar, like were your parents following you before like you went off to college, or how did that work?
Yeah, so I didn't get my CGM until I was a sophomore in college, but I did put the exact same boundaries in place. If I'm urgent low, to this day, my mom can still text me, although it's pretty rare that she does. A lot of times I try to text her first. If I know it looks like a really bad low, that I'm like straight arrow down in the 40s, I'm like, I'm treating it, I'm fine. But otherwise, she doesn't ask me about it. And I think she knows that if she did, I would probably remove her eventually. And that's the story that a lot of kids or adults now my age, like so many of my friends with type 1, they don't let their parents follow them. And, talking to all the parents in the type 1 together community, they're so scared that that's going to happen to them one day. And so I think finding a boundary that works for everyone is really important. Now, I know my mom looks at my Dexcom all the time. I know she does, but she doesn't text me too much. And I also try to tell her, like, if I change my Dexcom, if I'm going to have a warm up, or the other day it was going to die in the middle of the night, like expire in the middle of the night. So I told her ahead of time, just so you know, like, you're going to wake up before me being in Texas. Like, if there's no data, don't freak out. Because I can only imagine how stressful that has to be, even though I'm an adult living my own life.
Yeah. Do you think your mom do you know if she has notifications on, or are they just silent? She just has the app.
Oh, that's a good question now.
I'd
I
be
think
curious to know.
she definitely has them on for urgent lows, but I really hope she doesn't have them on for anything else. I don't even have my high alerts on except for overnight, because I rather look at my Dexcom often than have those beeps go off. They drive me crazy.
Yeah,
Yeah.
they're traumatic.
Yeah, I agree. Like it is the worst thing hearing them. But so if there's any way to like have them off and you're just looking at it, like I'm all for that.
Yeah, Nick has already said that once the kids go to college, he's like taking me off the follow app, and I'm like, probably the best idea. Take me off of it, because
you'll be ready for a break.
Yeah, for sure. And just it's just funny.
Cool. So I have a very important question that's off topic, but the fact that you went to Austin, or you live in Austin, what is your favorite barbecue place in Austin?
Oh gosh. There's so many good ones, but I do feel like, well, this is the most recent one I've been to, but I loved Harry Black's. That's just a
Yeah.
classic. There's definitely some better ones though. I feel like I just can't remember the name. But I will say I wasn't as into barbecue when I was there, but now my boyfriend's obsessed with barbecue. So whenever we go to Texas, he had never been before he met me. We go to Dallas to visit my family pretty often, and all we eat is barbecue. That's all we
Yeah.
Yeah.
eat. So it's great.
Yeah. Yeah. I used to go to Austin all the
Do you
time
have one?
for like work stuff, and then I actually lived in Austin for a year.
Oh wow. Yeah, what's your
So,
favorite spot?
so Salt Lick is my favorite out of
Oh, Salt Lake
all.
is really good.
Yeah. So out of all the places, and there's a lot of good ones. And no, I've never had Franklin, so I
I
can't,
haven't either.
like I gotta go ahead and say that I never had Franklin's, but yeah, it's Salt Lick's been hands down always my favorite. I just love their yellow sauce that they have is so good, and then
Mm.
the brisket. I'm a brisket person, so the brisket is always like on point there.
Yeah.
Yes.
He
And
just
those
took me. It was my first time in Austin last year,
Yeah,
and we went. It was good.
I
I
love
just love that
that.
there's like a Mexican restaurant every corner in Austin because I'm a big I could eat Mexican food like 3 times a day. So
Mhm.
I'm like, I'm in heaven here. Like I am meant to be here.
I
yeah.
lived on breakfast tacos my whole
And
college.
they
Well,
just opened a Torchy's Taco here.
here, yeah. So
Oh, really?
yes. And it's
Yeah,
actually like pretty close to where we live.
No
yeah,
way. I didn't know
and
they're out of
like
Yeah,
I
Texas.
know, like all of a
I'm
sudden,
so
like a Torchy
happy.
Taco pops up. I'm like,
I know.
where's this coming? Like
Oh,
I'm getting breakfast tacos.
all the
Because
time.
there's like no good place to get breakfast tacos here. And then they open up, I'm like, I'm going for breakfast tacos.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Oh, that's the best. I'm going to Dallas next week, so I'll be going there too.
Nice.
For
Fun.
sure. Cool.
Well, thanks for talking to us today. It's been so fun getting to know you more. So tell everyone where they can find you and all the stuff you're working on.
Well, thank you for having me. You can find everything Type 1 Together at type1together.com or on Instagram or TikTok at Type1Together. The one is spelled out, it's not the number. Same thing with my personal Instagram, Type 1 Day, like taking it one day at a time. And yeah, I love chatting and meeting everyone in the space. So definitely come say hi. We'll all be at Friends for Life, so say
Yeah.
hi there. And yeah, thank you guys so much. I just love what you're doing.
And if you didn't pick up on it before, we actually recorded 2 podcasts back to back.
Yes.
So when you get done listening to us, go over to Type 1 Together podcast.
Yeah.
Yes.
Check it out. We'll hear the whole other side of this. So it's kind of a 2-parter. But thank you so much for joining us. It was absolutely amazing.
Thank you.
Thanks. Bye, Palmer fam.
Bye.